start this podcast right. Booyah! Howdy,
Booyah.
man.
Good morning. Good morning, y'all. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Greg the Ghoul and Harris from SciTrek here, chilling out on a Friday morning for the next episode, the latest installment of the Radical Wastelander podcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So glad to have you. Thank you for being here. I want to start today off, first off, acknowledging my Boston Red Sox, sadly eliminated from playoff contention 2 days ago. They've been on life support since the All-Star break, so bit of a bummer. But gotta rock and represent. Also, Commonwealth, gotta represent the Minutemen. But actually, I think.
Garvey?
What's that?
Where's Preston Garvey?
Yeah, where is Preston? Oh, he's probably looking for new settlements to tell us that need to be cleaned out. Get rid of the Raiders. Get rid of the Rad Scorpions. I heard he was a Yankees fan anyway, so we don't need him. Anyway, Harris, I know we are like the new kids on the block in terms of the Fallout content world. SciTrek's been around a minute, but we are new. There are many established personalities within the Fallout podcast blogosphere. Oxhorn is one of them. He's a big one. Oh my gosh. Now of course, like I had this whole list planned out in my head and I can't remember.
Uranium Fever off the top of my head.
Uranium Fever is another one. But recently, like we're so new in this community, nobody even knows we're here probably. But I do want to say that the community within the last couple of weeks suffered a major loss, and I do want to start out with just an acknowledgement of the storyteller and their recent passing due to, I believe it was pancreatic cancer. The storyteller, if you're not familiar with their content, they provided the voiceover to one of the best podcasts on the history of Fallout and everything that all of the lore and everything that went on behind the scenes leading up to the games in the history. So just take a moment to acknowledge the storyteller, their contributions. Go, if you can today, go take a look at one of their videos, give it a listen. Jason Dameron, the storyteller, gave so much time and talent in creating these videos. It's clear that they were a labor of love, and they were well respected and very sorely missed by the community. So yeah, rest in peace, Jason. Thank you for your contributions to everything, and I'm glad to see that you get to live on through the wonders of the internet, so we can all continue to behold your work. So thank you,
and enjoy the world you helped build.
Absolutely. Wow. So yeah, hell of a legacy.
I guess another quick little sad one that we ought to just say thank you for everything you've done to us. I don't know if she was ever in a Fallout game or not, voicing anything, but old Dame Maggie Smith from Harry Potter and a million other things, Downton Abbey, et cetera, she passed away this morning, and that's depressing. Yeah,
I just saw that. It just popped up. So looks like cut this off. We should get like tiny links or something like that going, tiny URL shrinkers going forward. But yeah, this is going to be, so yes, thank you, Dame Maggie Smith. May you rest in power. May your memory be a blessing. And, my God, like one of the powerhouses of British stage and screen. She, I love how that she just had this ability to wither you with a look, like just so perfect. I thought her casting as McGonagall was utterly perfect. Seeing her in Downton Abbey and everything else she's done, my God. Just powerhouse performer, and she will be missed. I love the fact that she just kept doing stuff. Like was not nonstop.
Just indie films forever. I love. She did was it Lady in the Van or Old Lady in the Van, something along those lines. That was like the concept of the film as well, but it was kind of the name of it. Just a little smaller indie film she did a few years ago. One of my favorite, I think she's ever done. Just she did not stop. It's amazing. Same thing like James Earl Jones. She might have died at 89 and he might have been 93, but he was working like last year. So,
yeah. Well, and that's one of the things that I love about, the performing industry is that you could do it. There's no mandatory retirement age for this. No. Like there's still a demand for performers even when they're older. And you still have the capability to contribute if you want. I worked on, just before the pandemic, like February 2020, I worked on a TV show out here for 9-10 days. And I was Brian Dennehy's stand-in. This was a month before he passed. And I got to be his stand-in for a day. And I rode with him from base camp to location. And let me tell you, like talking to these guys, talking to these folks who have been around forever. He got in the van with the rest of the crew that was heading out to location, and he was everybody's friend, and he was laughing and cracking up the whole time, and he just told stories and stories and stories about working in the old days. He told some stories about him and Donald Sutherland that I should not repeat. But it was just like, he was in his late 80s, still going, still with it, and just loving life and, like doing what he loved every day, and my God, if we could only all be so lucky,
Yeah. The only thing I'm thinking as you're saying that is just, I hope, my fingers are crossed. I get to be afforded that gift, just,
yeah.
Please. Two people that are still working, that are still kicking, that are just making me think of while we're talking about this are like Clint Eastwood and Dick Van Dyke are two that are up there in age. 93, 95, something like that, if I remember correctly.
Oh, I think Dick Van Dyke just hit 96.
Okay. And Eastwood, I think, is just a couple years younger, but they're still kicking. And
98. Dick Van Dyke is 98 years old. And who else is still going is Warren Beatty.
Oh yeah. As long as he doesn't have to announce any Oscars anytime soon.
He's 87, and he just did a new Dick Tracy special. We'll get to the actual like theme of today's episode here in a minute.
Yes.
But Dick Tracy himself here, Warren Beatty, is like the ultimate IP troll at the moment about Dick Tracy, because after the original movie was released, the studios basically said, no, you'll never get to do another one of these again. It cost too much. It was a bomb, this and that. But he loves the role so much, he actually owns the rights, or no, has a license to the rights, and can have them in perpetuity as long as he gets a new Dick Tracy movie or project or something released every like 3 to 5 years, I think. So the way he maintains it is that he'll get on, like, he'll do like he'll throw on the yellow trench coat and the yellow fedora, and he'll do just like a random 1 a.m. like special with Leonard Maltin or something like that, where he's just talking in character, bitching about the studio system not approving a new movie. And he was doing this like just a few years ago, and it still counts. His license is still good. He still has hold of the IP because he releases content about it constantly. So, you know, like, and yeah, like I say, he just gets in there and just you know, rags on the system for not giving him another Dick Tracy movie. And he's at 83 or 80 still going with this. Like, my God, 87 and still going like this. I love it so much. You know, so good for him. Like, seriously, look it up. He'll do like a Turner Classic Movies special with somebody, and he's just sitting there in character, and it counts. It actually preserves the license for him. You know, so it's incredible.
I have to expect you to say like an audio drama or something of the sort, but no.
He literally throws on the yellow trench coat and the fedora, and then just fucking rags on the system for not letting him do another Dick Tracy movie, and he's still doing it today. So cheers to that. Cheers to that.
Big old frickin' cheers to that. Warren Beatty, Stuart Beatty. If your name is Beatty and you're in Hollywood, they're not doing you right.
Yep, absolutely. So that's cool. I mean, that is a great way to you know, let me see if I could dovetail this into our topic here. What a great way to work the capitalistic system.
You know,
yeah,
there we go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So Harris, today we've been sitting on this one in a minute. This one's been loaded in the chamber for a minute. Today we're going to talk about something that I feel like the topic may have passed a little bit, but hey, let's throw some gasoline on this fire, see if we can reignite it. No, we don't want to sign up for the PC Gamer emails, but you know, at least about a month ago. Yeah, just over a month ago. You know, well, okay. Since the Fallout games came out, they have been considered, there's all kinds of commentary. I mean, the games are loaded with symbolism. The games are allegoric to a number of different topics. You know, I mean, the iconic line from the show is war never changes. And this is a criticism of war, the military-industrial complex, but also like a commentary on human nature. And that's what the creators have called this. It is a commentary on human nature. And I agree with that 100%. Some folks went so far as to extend out this meaning and say that Fallout is in fact a critique of capitalism. You know, our economic system that basically defines and drives most aspects of life these days, at least in the United States. And that stirred up some controversy. You know, I think that this is a nice little hot button topic, and I actually do believe that yes, the games can be and do have a lot of commentary on capitalism in them. There's a lot of symbolism. There's a lot of you know, there's a lot of meaning and a lot of depth to all this stuff. I mean, because on top of that, the game criticizes everything to a degree and satirizes a whole bunch of stuff. So the fact that capitalism is in there, even unintentionally, shouldn't be surprising to you. But I'm going to get to why and how, and I will defend my thesis. I will defend my thesis. I come with the receipts today. We're going to have some fun. I did hours and hours of research on this, and we're gonna talk about that. But I do want to say that that this has been going around for a while. It's been going around ever since the original Fallout game came out, whether this is in fact a criticism or not of capitalism. And this debate flares up every few years when there's a new game. And of course, it flared up most recently with the release of the Amazon TV show. And it really seemed like the creators of the TV show were leaning into that, you know, and yes, they absolutely were. But now it's like, okay, but is that the TV show being woke, or is that, you know, are they finding that out of the source material? And so people are naturally having their big feelings about that, and I understand. But somebody went and asked Tim Cain, one of the creators of Fallout, one of the original co-creators, the OG, if it was a critique of capitalism. And Stanley say there's a variety of successful government types in the Fallout universe. To label as a critique of one form shows whoever made the statement hadn't played the games.
We'll dive into that.
Yeah, I don't think especially if you play New Vegas, I don't think there is anything. I don't think there's anything that is a successful government. I mean, the reason that every ending is a bad ending, but every ending is a bad ending for different reasons, I think is an accurate critique of the fact that, democracy is the worst system of government except for all others. They really kind of leaned in hard to that. And yes, I said democracy, not capitalism, but there, it all ties together, and we'll get into that. But let's go on ahead and set the context here. Let's talk about let's throw up that PC Gamer link real quick.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So as we mentioned, somebody asked Tim Cain, one of the creators of Fallout, for his thoughts on this, and he says, critique of capitalism was never the point of the games, and if anything, they're about how war is inevitable given basic human nature. But he doesn't mind if you take an anti-capitalist message anyhow. That's the header. So we want to do a little trade-off here and read it paragraph to paragraph.
Yeah. You want to start, or would you like me to?
I just started with the intro, so you take the first paragraph, my friend.
I got you. So what's Fallout about? War, nukes, consumerism, imperialism. How easy is it to misplace close relatives? All of the above. It's a debate that's raged for decades, and no wonder. Fallout is a pretty rich text as video game series go. And there's all sorts of messages you can read into the likes of Fallout 1, 2, and New Vegas. 14 years later, you can still click into any forum on the internet and find people arguing about which ending is best for the Mojave in New Vegas, and it's Yes Man.
It is not Yes Man, but that's a whole different story.
I don't think so either.
Yeah. But here's what it's not about, or at least what it's not inherently about: anti-capitalism. That's according to Tim Cain, one of the series' original co-creators, over on his YouTube channel. More specifically, Cain spoke about it in the comments in one of his recent uploads, a video prosaically titled Capitalism, in response to a fan asking about Cain's view on Fallout as a critique on capitalist corporate greed.
And his response was unequivocal. Critique of capitalism was never the point of Fallout. How can you tell? Because the game went out of its way to mention that other countries like China were also behaving terribly. Which is very true, of course. In the original isometric Fallouts that Cain worked as its lead on, the US was a horrifying dystopia, a chauvinist capitalist hellscape that imposed its will on the world and shot anyone who disagreed. But it wasn't unique. Fallout's China, which never dropped the smash the old world and forge the new world, ideology of the Mao Zedong thought era, was also plenty violent. In fact, in Cain's original version, it was China who dropped the bomb first.
If anything, says Cain, Fallout is a comment that war is inevitable given basic human nature, and the mode of production doesn't necessarily have all that much to do with it. That doesn't mean Cain disapproves of any anti-capitalist read, mind you. I don't think I have any themes that run in common in all my games. Maybe mistrust of power, says Cain. But people will interpret my games in all kinds of ways, and that's okay. Everyone brings their own perspective, and a story can mean different things to different people.
That's the truth. And then he finishes with, honestly, pinko that I am, I've always taken an anti-capitalist read on the original Fallout games, but I'm not too surprised that Cain wasn't necessarily trying to make an isometric RPG version of the Grundrisse back. Did I say that right? Grundrisse back in the 90s. Yes. When I consider his work like The Outer Worlds, so damn good, which was intensely satirical of corporate life without really making much criticism of capitalism or private property as a whole, it makes sense that critique of capital just isn't something that interests him that much. That's the last one.
Yeah, fair enough, I suppose. Cain's still been responsible for some of my favorite games, even if he doesn't share my read of them. Plus, if there's one thing the Marx adjacent among us don't need help with, it's reading anti-capitalism into literally anything. So, fair. I think Tim brings up some good points. Maybe that wasn't the intended message, but here's the thing. I'm going to be as meandering as Tim Cain is in his video titled Capitalism, okay? Cool. I mean, it's like a 10-minute video, and the first 7 minutes is him talking about anything but capitalism, and then he kind of ties it all together at the end. In my life outside of Fallout, I am a playwright, among other things, and a performer, and, but I write plays. And I've had the good fortune of having my plays produced and published, and they go up around the world. And it's fascinating to talk to directors and producers who read my scripts and who, tell me what they like about them and the meaning that they find about them and the themes that they want to extrapolate from them and why they're doing my work, when and for what reason, and what meaning they derive from it. And usually it surprises me what message people get out of my work. Directors and other third parties that aren't me can pull all kinds of surprising meaning and intention out of my writing, stuff that I didn't even necessarily know was there consciously. But when I watch what they do, either I'm like, wow, they are way the fuck off base, which has happened, or I go, oh yeah, I guess they really found something that I hadn't thought about, just something that I kind of like took as a building block and built it up. So something that I took and thought was a small detail, and that here they are extrapolating on that and focusing on that and bringing it out further. I wrote a show. My first play was about a school shooting, and I wrote about bullying. It was an anti-bullying message, but it was also just like it was a very human view of 5 teenagers and what drove one of them over the edge. And it became I've had folks tell me it's feminist or it's anti-feminist based on the ending. I don't want to spoil that. And it's always shocking for me to go, wow, I didn't write a feminist piece or even an anti-feminist piece, but it's always amazing what because spoiler alert, I'll spoil it because I don't think anybody's putting in my play anytime soon. In the play, the shooter is a girl, which is something that statistically isn't impossible, but
very unlikely.
It's not. Well, yeah, it's very rare. You don't see girls shooting up schools. But I was like, what if, because it has happened, but it's just very rare. And I thought, and in my script, it made sense for her to do it. And ultimately, that was a call that I made because I had all these paths intertwining together. And when it came down to who would be the one to actually do this, I was like, no, it's this character. So, and I get a lot of, I thought it was just natural organic storytelling. And then people take their own lenses and put them on that, and they derive their meaning from it. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's right or wrong. It's just that this is how this speaks to them. So I would say that, yes, there are anti-capitalist themes in Fallout, just as there are anti-establishment, anti-religion, my God, the Brotherhood of Steel, the Children of the Atom are absolute criticisms of religion. You have, Mr. House is a criticism of corporate, the corporate structures. Corporatism. That's what I'm looking for.
Nuka-Cola, all of the different places. It's huge on corporatism.
Oh my, yeah, absolutely. Vault Tech, and especially with how, but I feel like that by making, spoiler alert if you haven't seen the show, by making Vault Tech the guys who dropped the bomb and started the war, I think that very much shows that that is a very big criticism of big business and business. Multinational corporations outgrowing and overthrowing the systems of government in place. So that I think that, yes, absolutely, that the TV show folks went in, all the producers and the showrunners and the writers went in and were like, oh yeah, big business sucks, and this is why. Look, they destroyed the world. Like Tim mentioned, like Tim, oh my God, that's awesome. Like Tim mentioned in his article, he's like, I thought in my mind it was China that dropped the bombs. Well, he could have made that a little more clear.
Yeah, he should have said that if that were the case.
Yeah, but I think he liked the mystery and then didn't realize that somebody else might fill in the blanks and do something that he disagreed with. Yeah. Yes, art is a Rorschach test. Just like the Stanleys, yes. In most cases, people see what they want to see, even if it's an unintended message. Yes, people get different meanings out of different things. Absolutely. And it's personal reflection. So, let's see. Tim said his part. People either agreed or disagreed with him. The person who wrote the PC Gamer article, definitely, calling themselves Pinko and everything else. They're very, it's very clear to see what their stance is. is the show anti-crony capitalism or pro-communism compared to the games? I think it's anti-crony capitalism as opposed to pro-communism. I don't think, because yeah, he's talking, like Tim mentions it in his article, China was behaving badly as well. You don't hear or see anything out of Russia in these games. There's nobody's like cozying up and being like, yay communism.
In the show, the only thing I think that comes close to that, which people get a little iffy about, which I do not like, I think it's probably the worst line in the show, is when Moldaver is still, I forget her name before she is Moldaver in the Apocalypse per se, but when she's talking to Walton Goggins' character before he's the ghoul, and she says communists are just what they or what people call, or is a bad name for what they call someone that's right or something like that, and it's just like, I don't know if that's what Tim Kane's saying either. And
I think that character's that's a character's perspective. That is a very specific character's perspective, and that's not them. That's not them, hammering a thesis in. Naturally, like I said, the debate has raged on for decades since the first game was released. But there are a number of folks who rally to the pro-capitalist side, like, how dare you criticize my capitalism? But let's actually like try to take as empirical a look on this as possible here, because I want to be fair. What are the tenets of capitalism? Let's go into this. Like I said, I did some fucking research. I've got, and in my TED talk, in my essay, I will. Capitalism is an economic system based on several tenets, including the idea of private property, where people can own tangible assets like land and houses, and intangible assets like stocks and bonds. It is based on self-interest, people acting in their own best interest without regard to socio-political pressure. It's based on competition. Firms are free to enter and exit markets which maximize social welfare. It is based on market mechanisms like pricing that's determined by interactions between buyers and sellers, which allocates resources. Freedom to choose. People can choose what to consume, produce, and invest in. A limited role of government. The government protects the rights of citizens and maintains an orderly environment for the markets to function. Profit motive. The primary purpose of production is to accumulate capital for profit, and therein, that's a big one right there. Exchange of goods and services. Goods and services are exchanged often through contracts. And then economically efficient use of resources. The production process maximizes value added. Capitalism is often, its shorthand is, it's often thought of as a system where private actors own and control property and set prices in markets to serve the best interests of society. Now, that is capitalism in an ideal situation. We are in what's called late stage capitalism right now. Don't at me. I mean, facts is just facts. But it's talking about how it's based on resources. Okay, let's we're gonna put a pin in that, because why are wars fought? Harris, why are wars fought?
Depends on the situation, but a lot of times it does pertain to money, dollars, and
the number one reason, if you ask Google, why are wars fought? It's economic reasons. Wars can be fought for economic reasons, such as to gain access to resources or to pay war reparations to a victorious nation. There's also political reasons, to gain power, influence, or wealth. Religious reasons, due to religious differences. Territorial reasons, to disputes over territory. Nationalist reasons, due to nationalism, which is the belief that a nation-state identity is superior to all others. Ideological reasons, speaking of ideology. There's a lot of ideological warfare going on these days. Wars can be fought as acts of revenge or to overthrow an existing form of government, to make radical changes in a nation's government. But the number one reason is economic. It's resources. It's who controls the water, who controls the oil, who controls everything. So that is the number one reason. So we're already talking about and what runs what runs a capitalist economy. It's resources and services based on resources, but resources. Now, I mentioned late stage capitalism a moment ago, and that's a term that gets thrown around a lot and misunderstood. What does that actually mean? Let's actually look at what this means from a dictionary perspective, okay? The term late stage capitalism refers to the current stage of capitalist development and is often used to describe the inequities and absurdities of the modern economy. Some key characteristics of late stage capitalism include economic and cultural transformation, The term late conveys a sense of change, that things are different, and that the life world has transformed. Financial capital dominance. Late-stage capitalism is dominated by financial capital and the increasing commodification of human life. Internalization of business. Multinational corporations are not tied to anyone, or internationalization, not internalization. Sorry, the coffee hasn't quite kicked in yet. So let me. This is what I get for working till 5 a.m. Yeah. You get the official Marvel No Prize. So thank you so much, Michael. Yeah. Heyo. Your Radaway is in the mail. Let's see. Internationalization of business. Multinational corporations are not tied to any one country, but represent a form of power and influence greater than any one nation. Does that sound familiar? Increasing inequality. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. And environmental degradation. Overconsumption and environmental degradation guide everyday lives. That is the definition of late-stage capitalism, which, you know, it sounds a heck of a lot like what's going on in the U.S. today, if I do say so. But it also sounds a hell of a lot like the world of Fallout. So even if you're not directly critiquing capitalism, you're looking at the reasons of unchecked corporate power and greed led to the disasters that we deal with today. I mean, yes, we don't still know for certain who dropped the bomb. Somebody said that in the chat a moment ago.
Yeah, Padar was saying that. The show doesn't say that Vault-Tec dropped the bomb, just that they were willing to do so if push came to shove. And he just followed up with, there's the hint of the dark figures Barb looks up to on the balcony in the corporation scene.
Yeah, so, I believe that's the Enclave, or representatives that later become the Enclave, which was, you know, remnants of the U.S. government. But everybody in that room, Rob Coe, Vault-Tec, all those guys.
Nuka-Cola was there too, weren't they?
Who was?
Was Nuka-Cola in that room? I don't think I remember them being there.
I don't think Nuka-Cola was in there. I mean, it was everybody that was in there was like some sort of like weapon service, or, you know, like had reasons to experiment on people.
Vault-Tec,
Vault-Tec,
House, a few others,
yeah. Robco, which House ran, and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
It was all international corporations, multinational corporations that were there, that decided basically that you know, they've just about done milking the world for all it's worth. So, you know, now it's a matter of, you know, changing up the system where they can be the socially dominant beast. I mean, that was the whole point of Vault-Tec with their middle management, was that they would end the existing world because it was broken, and then they would overthrow it and remake it in their own image. That was the whole point of Vaults 31, 32, and 33. Yeah. So, so sure, yes, you know, and Tim Cain brought up some points about how China was behaving badly and everything else. Yeah, other countries are behaving badly, but the whole series, first off, if he wants to you know, point the fingers and be like, everybody's a bad actor, then why haven't we had Fallout Beijing? You know, every Fallout game has been set in the U.S. in a post-capitalist, post-apocalyptic hellscape.
That's a Bethesda decision. Todd Howard talked about that, because when Fallout London came out, he was talking about how as much fun as it would be, it is the lore's intrinsically based, what we know of at least. There's obviously more around the globe. It's from
an American perspective, from top to bottom.
And Bethesda said they're not interested in as much as I want Fallout London or Fallout Beijing, Fallout Shanghai, Fallout Tokyo. Any of these places would be sick.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of work that it takes to make one of these games, I don't think we're ever going to see anything. I would be scandalized to see if they finally took us abroad.
There's too many places. Technically, Canada's part of the Commonwealth at the time, so if we're going to explore somewhere, we might as well go up a little bit before we go out, I guess.
Yeah. Well, first off, you know, but because of the nature of the games being set in post-apocalyptic America, we are viewing everything automatically through a post-capitalist, post-late-stage capitalist lens, looking at what is like effectively what capitalists brought us to. Because do you know the name of the war that happened before the Great War on October 23rd? What was the war that they'd been fighting for like 20-something years?
Oh, in Fallout?
Yeah.
That's the
Resource
war.
Wars.
It's the war that technically Walton Goggins' character was in, right?
Yeah, it was the Resource Wars.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, it was literally called the Resource Wars, and it started with all of the oil running out in the Middle East. That's what started it. Was that they talk about how the Middle East ran out of oil, and everybody had to turn around and looking for other for other forms of resources. So everybody's looking for nuclear material. Everybody's looking for yeah. No, here's the thing, Michael. You could dismiss that as the Hollywood mentality, but whether you like the Hollywood mentality or not, just dismissing it as the Hollywood mentality, as the same way people dismiss woke and try to invalidate anything that they don't like as woke, doesn't necessarily mean they're wrong. I mean, the thing is, the point of the arts is to be a reflective mirror to society. And just because we don't necessarily like what we see when we look in that mirror doesn't mean it's not necessarily true. And does it mean that it's 100% correct? Absolutely not. You know, every mirror is viewed through the lens of somebody's through somebody's perspective, but oftentimes those perspectives are informed. And I would say that just because we don't necessarily agree with everything that perspective has to say doesn't mean it is wrong or invalid or should be just dismissed outright. So just throwing that out there. But can I also point out, just as a side note here, I chuckled as I wrote this in my notes, but I said that Mr. House is the Elon Musk of New Vegas. You know, like that's if Elon Musk had his way, he would be, you know, like boxed up in a friggin' cryo cell for 200 years just so he could continue to rule over his empire of self-driving cars and automated everything.
That brain can be on the outside.
Yep. So, but yeah, the whole point of the resource wars is that global resources are becoming scarce, specifically oil and uranium, due to irresponsible behaviors by corporates and governments that led to the wars because responsible action was taken by business too late. In other words, the world suffered from unchecked corporate and government power and greed. So yeah, this really does all tie into exactly what Tim was talking about, is that this is about commentary on the nature of greed. And this you want to talk about personal lenses. In my view, capitalism is greedy by nature. You know, that because of the fact that you have the need for everything is profit driven. Everything is about the bottom line. Okay. And it has gotten to the point now where people's jobs are cut if it's the most profitable move. You know, it's about making it. It's not about the livelihood. It even talks about it in the tenets of capitalism, how it is self-interest. It's driven by self-interest. So therefore, the folks in power have it's their self-interest being served, not the interests of the people who are actually
the consumer
doing the labor, or doing the labor and doing all the creation, or the consumers. You know, because if you can make it cheaper but less safe, you go and make it cheaper. Look at Boeing right now. Deregulation. This is why deregulation is a bad thing. You can't just have like completely unregulated free market economy. You look at Bitcoin. You want to talk about fucking late stage capitalism and unchecked greed. Look at Bitcoin and all the rug pulls. The only people making money are the ones that already have the money, and they're just making it off. They're just making more off the backs of people if they literally trick into giving all their money just so it can be stolen in a rug pull. You know,
not
NFTs.
Necessarily. I have actually quadrupled my personal wealth on Bitcoin. It's not necessarily all in that still, but I did that just with literally just timing it right.
Yeah, but are you investing in shitcoins, or are you actually just like building up an Ethereum wallet?
I don't want to say the amount of Bitcoin I have, but I do have over one myself personally, and
all right,
and all that. If you can totally get that rug pull, there are many people that are preying on
and
people for that.
And that's what I'm saying is that an unregulated system allows for basically, you know, a unregulated, unchecked system allows for that kind of bad behavior that hurts people because it's about self-interest. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that good can't be done with it. There is a point. Yeah. There is a point to having a deregulated what am I? Oh, me talk good words now.
Yes.
there is a point to having an international currency that's not tied down to any one government. You know, there is elements of stability. There's arguments for decentralized. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
There is an argument for decentralized currency, but you know, when we're talking about self-interest, we're talking about greed. We're talking about the ways the system can be used to abuse others. That is the kind of unchecked power that ruins society. You know, and that, you know, extrapolated can lead us into a post-apocalyptic future. Yes, not Bitcoin by itself, but that kind of bad behavior, that self-interest only, that leads to people fighting over resources and using them irresponsibly in order to maximize their own profit in the short term without a thought to long-term stability or growth. Everybody wants to maximize the profits for the next quarter. You know, I can look at this now with Wizards of the Coast, my favorite. They make my beloved D&D, my whole stack of D&D books right here and everything I've got. Everybody's dreading, like, I got my new player's handbook for the 2024 core rule books that just dropped. They just revised the rule system again after 10 years. Everybody's really freaking out because of all of the online components that they're putting in now with microtransactions and stuff like that to be able to play a tabletop role-playing game. Because Hasbro has to pay out their insane bonuses to their executives. Not even the Wizards executives. It's the owners of the guys. It's the guys who own Wizards of the Coast who are demanding certain profit margins because they've tanked almost every other division.
Wizards of the Coast owns D&D too.
Oh yeah, Wizards of the Coast makes D&D. Yeah, they've had it since 2000.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
Oh yeah, and that's why you see so much crossover between D&D and Magic these days.
Okay.
They start. Yeah, that's. I mean, they have whole source books that are set to. Hold on. Got it right around here somewhere.
This might have to be a whole stream in itself one day. I mean.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. This is taking way too long. I have Theros. Where's Mystic Oddity of Theros? Anyway, I need more coffee. But I have like every 5th edition source book released. Anyway, so I would say that even if it's not like intentionally set out as a critique of anti-capitalism, if we're talking about war and how war never changes and is based in human greed, capitalism is a system based on self-interest and based on the limited role of government, profit motive, and the economically efficient use of resources, which is most often corrupted and used and abused in order to maximize profit in the short term, which therefore leads to resource scarcity, which therefore leads to war, and it's all rooted in greed and the powering of the individual over the goods of all. This is why I'm a pro-labor lefty and a member of 3 unions, but that's a different story.
So just for the sake of devil's advocacy, what happens whenever somebody gets a lot of power in a sort and then they have control over or a lobbying or something of the sort?
Yeah.
Where then whenever they get into regulations and they can control how those regulations work, they put themselves up. Because Boeing has been they've been overregulated the last 40-50 years, and that's the biggest problem they've had.
I disagree with that. I don't think they've been overregulated.
Just the way, like, I'm not saying.
I want to make sure that when I get on a Boeing airplane, I don't want it fucking falling apart. Okay, but the problem is that it's literally a line item of how many lives can they afford to lose and pay out before they have to go and, like, what's more cost effective? Paying out lawsuits for wrongful death, or going and recalling the fleet and doing updates. I mean, it's literally like, how much is it going to cost us and what's more cost effective? That is a moral issue at that point.
Because, it doesn't matter how anyone feels about old Elon here, but it's because of SpaceX. Boeing is only doing that because they have had to change everything they're doing with their company. Because they've been highly regulated, been the person or the company per se that has been, like, given the contracts the last 40-50 years. from the U.S. And we see what overregulation has done is made them lazy and made them unsafe because they don't have to go to the standards of other companies that have to reach what they want to do and then supersede that to get that competition, that healthy competition.
I think it's the opposite way around. I think it's the fact that they had that they were deregulated that allowed them to get lazy and not have to hold everything to as high a standard as it was. And that's why we're seeing all these accidents and things now.
It's none of these are new things that they've made, though. This is not like stuff that they just put out on the market. This is stuff this shows the regulations haven't been up to par for so long. And now that we know that these things are coming out that are new, reusable, better and better for the environment, better for our planet, better for what we can do as a species, spacefaring wise, that is showing that, hey, maybe we have to like try something new, and it's not working for Boeing at the moment.
Well, I don't want to be flying on somebody's test plane that then falls apart. You know, I mean, that's the thing is that it's about cost effectiveness ultimately, and you know, bringing it back to Fallout. The Alaskan Front, the whole war in Alaska was fought over the oil fields up there.
Yeah.
The Fallout TV show strongly alludes to the idea that Vault-Tec started the war after conspiring with Robco and other major industries to upend the status quo. It's similar to multinational corporations defying one country by basically playing the countries against each other. Did you know that Apple, while its central campus is in San Francisco, actually their main corporate headquarters is technically in Ireland?
Ireland?
Yeah. Ireland. Tax benefits.
Okay.
The tax benefits in Ireland. They are powerful enough and big enough that they could shop around to pick which tax laws are most lenient. And apparently, at one point back in the day, when Ireland went to set about changing the laws, Apple threatened to leave, and as a result, those rules didn't change. I mean, don't take my word for it. Google that shit. You know, so I don't think you can criticize war without criticizing the reasons behind war is fought. And in this case, you know, while Fallout takes shots at everything, which again, like see the Brotherhood of Steel, see Children of Adam, see all this stuff, you know, for how they handle religion, cults, groupthink. If you're gonna call it the resource wars, and you're gonna say that the war was fought over oil, and you're gonna say that the war was fought over uranium. It's not scientific progress that they're arguing about here. It's about economic realities extrapolated to the nth degree, extrapolated to what could potentially be a logical end. So you can't criticize wars over resources without saying it's not a criticism of the idea of capitalism itself. There was a thread on Reddit that I read that kind of summed it up that I liked, that said, so basically you can say Fallout has an anti-capitalism message given that unbridled capitalism contributed to global destruction. But this capitalism is only a small aspect of what caused people to start killing each other, and to focus only on the capitalism is to miss the forest for the trees.
Yeah, because it's so much heavier than that, because we just kind of touched on is the corporatism behind it. It's that's honestly more so what happens whenever that capitalism turns crony and then evolves into a corporatism, and that's that late stage.
And when the corporations out there, Irish law did change, by the way. Oh, thank you, Sean. I appreciate that clarification. As an Irishman, can vouch for that. I love actually having Irish folks in the chat here being able to check me on this. Thank you. I appreciate the update. That anecdote was a few years old, so hey, Guru, welcome. Glad to have you. So,
two Irishmen. Or Sean,
excellent.
I don't know. Hell yeah, that's fun.
Excellent. So yeah, that is my TED Talk. I think that while it is not explicitly only anti-capitalist, if you're going to make the wars that were fought that led to the end of civilization as we know it, the resource wars, and they were fighting over resources, then that is baked in at that point. You know, you may be focusing on you may be focusing on the idea that it is wars, that war never changes because of greed and because of human nature, and in the fact that humans always are, wind up in conflict with one another over whatever. But if that's how you set up your story, then that's the message that's baked in there. Sorry, it's like I said, like I wrote my play and I wrote it where I figured that it was the most logical character that was surprising. I surprised myself when I was writing the ending. I was like, oh, it doesn't make sense for this character to do it anymore. It makes perfect sense for this for this character to do it, and here's why. And suddenly I'm being critiqued for I was either being hailed as feminist for, empowering women with the idea that one could, go off and be as violent as a man, or also be misogynistic because how dare I make a girl the shooter, over these mentally unstable white men that are or white boys that are in the show. So I was like, can't fucking win either way, but again, this is also how art is a Rorschach test, how you're going to see what you want to see out of it. This is why I write fluffy pieces now about gangsters and stealing money from Vegas casinos and stuff like that, as opposed to serious dramas. I wrote a whole very, very, very political show in 2021. It was my first foray into political theater, and I think it's going to be my last too, because that was. It was something special, and I really enjoyed it. But that was a reaction for the time, and I don't know if I've got that in me anymore.
Yeah, there's just a big part of that too. Just a funny little quick example of just something I did this summer was I took a little workshop for directing, and that's always fun. And things like one of the last days. The lady that was running it, she said, Jacqueline Rosenthal, great director, so on and so forth. Check her out, y'all. But she was like, okay, we have one day left of this. We'll reconvene tomorrow. I know it's only like an afternoon and you probably have stuff going on. Just film something, 1 minute, edit it down. Maybe don't edit. Do whatever you want to do. Direct a 1 minute something and come back to me tomorrow. So, of course, I was going to a birthday party. One of my friends was turning 33, and I was like, all right, I'll go hang out with y'all. And I think Chaz was still in town for the play and everything. So we went out there and hung out. And, I'm hanging out with a bunch of people. Half of them Italian, by the way, so I can't actually understand half of them. And there's a translation aspect to stuff. In that 1 minute, it was just a little pool party and stuff like that. And there was an orca that you just jump on, big pool float kind of deal, and I kind of just made something fun out of it where we all just kept jumping on it, and there one girl kept jumping on it a whole bunch, so filmed her doing it and then cut it into the orca jumping in the sky and her almost getting pissed off at it and then turning it into sushi. You cut to sushi right after she's eating the sushi, and then we went to go eat sushi after the pool party, so I cut to us at the sushi place and yada yada yada. It's just a quick minute 15 seconds, something like that. And, I thought it was funny as hell. I was like, oh, for a minute and a half, might not be the best thing. I know I'm not going to be the best at the class, but I had fun with it, and this is fun,
Yeah.
Everybody else loved it, and they thought it was some nature piece about me trying to, save whales and orcas and all these different things, and I was just like, yeah, definitely.
Sure.
Yeah. But same thing. I thought it was just funny and a little simple thing for the afternoon, and then what people got from it was I didn't even think about it,
Yeah, 100%. I had I did a class at Second City on how to create a web series, and hey Sarah, welcome, glad to have you. And I wrote a little sci-fi series about a guy who thinks he's trapped in a time loop, but really he's in an alien zoo. It was genre flipping and stuff, and people thought it was, and this was, I was doing this at Second City, which is a comedy school, and people were like, "Why are you doing a web series about mental health and depression?" And I'm like, "That's not what this was."
I love that idea, though.
Yeah. Oh, and it's fun. And I've only shot one episode. It was basically a little 3-minute episode, and it was a proof of concept. But I have a whole 6-episode season that I want to do. My problem is that my episode 6 got so outlandishly crazy in terms of post-production needs that I don't think I could ever afford to do this unless I get a major production company behind it. But I'm trying to figure out how I could do it. When I get through my next project, I'm going to probably revisit this and look at how to actually shoot it, because I had a lot of fun. My concept was originally shoot it in one location, just one room, 2 actors, and just let them cook. But then I got to writing what the big reveal was, and I was like, I have them on an alien spaceship now. what the fuck do I do here? So like, how do we do this? So, yeah.
You know what? Totally premature, but if you want to, do something about it, we have a bunch of sci-fi people that love sci-fi here. If we ever want to like do like a campaign to get it made or something of the sort, we can always try to do something of that sort.
Yeah, well, let me do another pass on let me do another pass on the scripts, but who knows, if you guys ever want to see Feeling Good, the series out there. Yeah, maybe it was also the name of it, but it was actually based on the Michael Bublé song. That was why I called it Feeling Good.
Feeling Good, they're immediately like, is this a depression thing? What are we going at?
And I mean, and because he thinks he's in a time loop, he actually shoots himself in the head at the end of the episode or episode 2 to try and escape it. So yeah, that might be. But then in the post credit, you see his eyes open up again as he wakes up at 6:02 a.m. the next day. Again, it's Groundhog Day. It's Groundhog Day with a sci-fi twist, So yeah.
Oh. Well, I almost feel like we have to start this campaign now before anybody from Solar Opposite sees this and decides to just make that an episode. Let's do it, because that's cool. I really like that concept.
Okay. Yeah, I would actually love to see that get off the ground at one point. I have a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun coming up with this, and I wrote it as a vehicle for myself, and I think that's also part of the reason why it stayed on the shelf. Sometimes it's for a while there, I didn't like acting in my own material, and then I changed my mind on that and had a hell of a great summer starring in one of my own plays. But yeah, no, I think that could actually be a hell of a lot of fun if we were to take the opportunity and put that out there. I don't think
it almost feels like something that could be in Fallout too. Like you could be a Zetan alien just taking some raider or somebody and just like, oh well, here we are.
Yeah, hold on a second. You know what? Anybody that's watching here, I'm gonna be, I might be a little. You might call me self-indulgent for this, but I'm gonna. Oh, it's unlisted. Okay. Yeah, you can say what you want about me, but I'm gonna put episode 2 in the chat.
Hey.
So if you guys ever want it, that is my proof of concept. I'm wearing a Deadpool T-shirt in it, so you're not going to see me. This is and it also uses it uses the Michael Bublé song very obviously throughout. So it is not this is not going to be the final version. This is just the proof of concept. So if you want to check it out, get a see if you enjoy it. But yeah, I have 6 episodes of this written and ready to go.
Hell yeah!
They probably need another pass, but I think that if this is my crack at sci-fi.
Put it in the private chat too, if you don't mind, and I'll put it in the description for our video as well, so it's easier for people that come watch it after the fact.
Yeah. There you go. Bam, private chat. It's in there.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's just exciting in general.
Yeah. I want to go back and get this done at one point. I really do. I think it'd be a hell of a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm proud of it. And I did pass it on to a friend of mine who is a producer on a show for Apple TV, going like, "Hey, let's talk about this at one point." So, who knows? I don't.
It'd be cheaper than half the things you're filming. Because Apple TV, they're good, but they're expensive.
Yeah, but I mean, hey, if they were to throw a budget at this, I could very easily get episode 6 made, which would be really cool.
The ring light in the background keeps moving. That's my desk. Sorry, my desk is standing and it'll shake every now and then.
Yeah.
Well, I brain farted as I read that message. I don't remember what I was saying. We were just talking about your
all
episode.
Good. All good. Yeah, no, we were talking about it and how possibly to shoot it. Yeah. So hey, maybe we'll throw it in. Maybe we'll set up a Kickstarter or a Indiegogo or something at one point to get it done.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. It'd be fun. It almost. I still haven't seen it, just from just what you said, and then the take from the other people thinking it's like a mental health and depression kind of show. It almost sounds like Shrinking, but sci-fi and fun instead.
It's Shrinking is the show that my friend works on. So yeah.
Oh wait, okay.
Yeah. So that's why I was like, hey, this is why I go down to Comic-Con and stalk TV writers and producers, and buy them dinner and stuff and shoot the shit.
I got something up your alley right here.
Yeah, exactly. So, yep, awesome. Well, I think that's basically what I had for today, folks. I hope you had fun. I know I had fun researching this and coming up with all this stuff. I think.
Can I leave you with or ask you one question? It might extend it for a couple minutes, but I'll just sit in my chair after it. So,
all right,
just for the sake of devil's advocacy, again.
All right. Okay, here we go.
Supply and demand. A lot of people equate capitalism's, the simplest way of saying it is laissez-faire or supply and demand, which is technically the closest thing to nature and just how nature works. Nature tends to just have its own natural supply and demand, and which, if you haven't seen The Wild Robot yet, so damn good. And they don't stray away from like true nature at all. Little things die in that. It's amazing. It's not amazing that they died, but it's amazing that they stuck to nature, of course, and they decided to do that for a kids show or a movie.
Yeah.
But in that sense, where nature is supply and demand, and capitalism can be kind of subjugated to that, just simply, would that be the closest thing nature has to an actual functioning system? Of course, as humans, we can come up with any economic system we want, but would that be the closest thing nature has intrinsically to being?
I'm not quite sure I follow the question. Are you saying, is nature capitalist by nature?
Yeah, essentially.
I don't. Well, I think that nature is absolutely transactional in the sense that life, like there is the circle of life, but nature also finds a balance within itself, and this is what I think capitalism, or late stage capitalism, is not. Late stage capitalism is an absence of balance.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And that is because once people have power here, greed kicks in, and it's all feeding the bottom line and making sure that it's about profitability. It's profitability and self-interest for those with power. That is the problem that we're dealing with here. And you see this with like the cult of celebrity around millionaires, billionaires, and to the point now where society even believes it's if you're a billionaire or a millionaire, if you have a lot of money, you're morally correct somehow, or that you're a good person somehow. Like that's what it gets equated to, which has one has nothing to do with the other. Just because you're good at the capitalism slot machine does not mean that you are a moral, ethical person. And I would argue that it is impossible to become a billionaire ethically, because at one point, because you are taking more by making sure that by you taking more, other people have less at that point, and that because you're maximizing your personal profit to the point where people are losing their livelihoods or people are being underpaid for labor. And this is why I think labor unions are important. So because you need to have the little guys got to be able to speak up. I think I consider myself, I'm a small business owner. I consider myself to be an ethical capitalist. I make sure the people that work for me are well paid and well taken care of, because I believe in loyalty, and I believe in that if I want to have, I believe that I have a better product for it. And I offer better services when I have people that are well taken care of and that are happy to be there and motivated to be there as a result. People know that as a boss, I'm going to have their back. People know that when they when they come and work for me, they're going to be taken care of, that they can come and take a sick day, or they can, I'm not, the number of times I've stepped up and run shows for stage managers when they call out sick, or the number of times
you had to do it for us once, didn't you?
Not
no,
year.
Aaron came in. Hannah had to pop in. Aaron came in.
Hannah was sick, and Aaron jumped in, but Aaron is also someone who I was paying to be there to make sure that she was a third me. She was like, it was like me and Jen, and then Aaron came in to be the third one of us, to oversee all the venues and be like the backstop.
The trident.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think the thing is that capitalism is a system that benefits the ones with power and allows it to snowball out of control, and it is an incumbent upon the person with the power to be responsible and to be ethical in their behaviors. And while they may claim that, and while they may believe that, they are not that, because fundamental human nature is that humans are greedy, and that, looking after our own self-interest is going to be what is paramount. So I think, nature has its own system of checks and balances because nature gives no fucks. When the predators overhunt an area, the predators start dying out from starvation. You know, what?
I'm just thinking, the wild robot yesterday. There's this one little scene, and it's not going to spoil anything. It's the smallest detail. Literally nature just doing it, and that's why I think I enjoyed the wild robot so much. It's just so intrinsically nature. There's a point, the little possum, I forget who it's voiced by. Possum has a bunch of little possum babies on her back, and at a one point she might have a certain amount, and literally just in conversation, one gets swooped away and goes, well, now I got 6, and there's never another one in the entire movie. They just go on with it. And another one, possums play dead, so another one's like, oh, took me a second to get back, Mom. She's like, well, all right.
She's like, don't give a fuck, yeah, because I'll just have more, yeah.
Yeah, literally, one of the first things she says as a character is like, which one are you again? Oh, yeah, you're this litter. And it's just like, that's nature,
Yeah. So nature is inherently unforgiving and cutthroat to the individual, absolutely. But nature balances itself because nature doesn't have a personal moral stake in anything. Nature is just an unforgiving, impartial judge. If we're going to personify nature,
yeah. In that balance that nature has, though, just to go with the possum metaphor example. Do you have to be a bit selfish before you can ever be selfless? Because you're not able, if you don't have the capability of helping others, of course you can try to lend a helping hand, but it might be at your own behest. And
I don't think acquiring power or the active, I don't think that. But having power is also having the power to help others. Having the power to enrich yourself is also having the power to help others.
Okay.
And I don't think it is inherently greedy to get power. I think those that crave power are the ones who should have it the least. As exemplified today.
All of them.
I mean, my God, I don't want to get.
And I'm not saying that for any individual.
I'm talking. Oh yeah, I'd like to keep this in the abstract because I'm going to be, chugging Tums until after November 5th, and then we'll see just how we'll see which way my stomach goes from there. But I don't think having power or gaining power is inherently immoral. I think though that it's what you do with it that defines who you are. Yeah. And defines what you are, and it also has a major effect on the society around you. Because when you have power, you have power to reshape your circumstances, and that affects the people around you. So there's, I think the people who seek out power for themselves are the ones who should have it the least.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because they could also be like, oh, I'm here to save the whales, or oh, I'm here to whatever else. But you see that kind of like power seduces and power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So
we never said anything otherwise, of course, but no violence for any political BS anyway, no matter what side, anywhere, ever. It's not worth it, etc. That's all we'll say about that. I don't like the conservative candidate for the presidency here in the United States. I don't, but I also don't wish him death, and I don't wish violence on anybody. And the other one screwed up the state that we live in a big way for a long time, and there's not much better. So either one sucks, and that's all we got. So, and it sucked 4 years ago. Guess what? It sucked 4 years before that. Guess what? It sucked 4 years before that, and then we can keep going on, and it's going to suck in 4 more years. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's if you want to look at the problems with democracy in the Fallout world, just look at the NCR. I mean, the NCR is, and I love how you can also see that in other factions of media too, like when you watch Andor and when you watch Mandalorian and all these shows, how they show that the Republic as a bureaucracy was stretched too thin, was under-resourced, and as a result, they couldn't help all their people, and as a result, people kept loyal to the Empire because, it was the equivalent of, well, at least the trains ran on time, And that, I guess, kind of is that selfish before selflessness sometimes, like you have to be able to support your constituents at a time, but also what does that mean? Because obviously they knew that this imperial system that they just had expelled
is not what they want to do, so they're going to try something different.
Well, and the thing is that I think that what fascinated me was seeing people who still supported the Empire even after the Galactic Republic came back, and then you really think about it, and it's like, no, that makes sense, because how did it affect the lives of individuals on a daily basis? And there were people who were perfectly fine with whatever system was in power because they were unaffected by it. You know, largely, it's if they weren't a part of like, you know, how the Empire being xenophobic. If you were a human, you were probably doing fine. You know, and it goes right over your head. And you know, if you don't give a shit about xenophobia practiced against other species, then yeah, you're like, I'm concerned about my day to day. I'm concerned about making sure I've got 3 meals on my table, and suddenly I've got this galactic bureaucracy over my head that is telling me that is taking care of everybody, but my needs aren't being met anymore. I'd yearn for the Empire too. You know, like this is the problem. This is how, and the, you know, you've got the system that wants to help everybody, or the system that benefits the few. And if you're one of the people that benefits, then you don't want to see that change. And that's part of human nature. That's part of greed. And that's that's everybody wants, you know, it's self-interest, which brings it back to capitalism. So yeah, this has been fun. This has been a lot of fun. This has been a good one. This has been a good one today. I want to thank everybody that's been hanging out with us in the chat. I want to thank everybody for expressing your thoughts. Thank you, Ireland, for checking me on that stuff about Apple. I'm glad that they changed the laws. I'll have to go Google it and follow up and see if Apple actually, you know, followed through with their threat and moved out. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope today was thought provoking, at least, even if you don't necessarily agree with everything that I was saying. I don't want you to. I don't want you to necessarily agree with it, because there should be. I should not be like the thought maker. I'm here to put out a potentially controversial hot take and let y'all feast on the debate. That's what this is for. You put out your first rad talk and posed a damn good question that if y'all haven't yet, get in the comment section and do your thing. Tell us what you think about it. Tell us your in-depth thoughts, your simple thoughts, the weird thoughts, all of the above, you know? Yeah. I think that, the Stanleys here say on paper, all forms of government can work and be beneficial for all, but when you add the human condition, you get greedy, megalomania, corrupt, inefficient workforce, etc. Yeah. I mean, look, say what you want, but socialism could be the ideal system if it if it wasn't for greed and laziness. You know, I would say that. I know that's controversial. Sure. Socialism and communism on paper make that could be a utopia. I mean, Star Trek is a socialist utopia. You know, but what did it take? It took a mental evolution of humanity in order to get there, and it had to go through utter devastation. They had to go through their own fallout, which is a period that they mostly gloss over, except in the time travel episodes where dramatically appropriate. But you know, I mean, and they even call it out in Discovery, and I know Discovery is a hot button topic around here. People either love it or hate it. But they even talk about how, you know, the United Federation of Planets is a socialist utopia that goes head to head with the Emerald Chain, which is late stage capitalism. Like, they literally call it out in episodes. So it is, you know, these themes are universal. These themes are ubiquitous. And I feel like that really it all comes back down to human nature. You know, it's just we've come up with new and better ways to fuck each other over for resources, for the accumulation of power and wealth. And now we just have a really incredibly complex rule book on how to do it legally, but legally doesn't necessarily mean morally or ethically. Yeah, that's the truth. Yeah. But yeah, people actually need to work together for the first time, which seems like forever. I hope, no matter, of course, everything feels politicized for the U.S., and no matter where you are in the world, it just kind of heralds back to it. Screw all of it. Like we said, in 4 years, we're going to be pissed off again. Guess what? We will be in 2 years, too. No matter what, I think this has shown that we are divided as a society, and we really need to work together, like Carrie says here. Like, hey, we can have, like Sarah said a second ago, we should all feel free to discuss our opinions in a civilized manner. And absolutely. I think this was a good example of, let's just have a conversation, you know? Yeah, absolutely. And also, Underhill, chill, yo. People understand metaphors and simple lines. Like, on paper, communism and socialism is kind of like utopian. Like, duh, that's not some jingoistic line. It's aspirational, but the problem is that it doesn't take into account human nature. I mean, I figured that out when I first learned about communism in high school. It's like, well, this is never going to fucking work because people are greedy. You know, that's the whole thing, is that no one, it's not in our nature. It's not in our fundamental nature to go out of our way for the other guy. It takes a big step to be able to do that, you know? So, you know, I appreciate the fact that we managed to have a nice conversation about things today. So
yeah. And that's the thing. If you don't necessarily agree with somebody, or if you're questioning that, find the way to question that appropriately and play a devil's advocate, or I think it's good to do that even when you agree with somebody.
Oh yeah, no. You should always be incredibly critical of your own views first.
Yes, I mean, devil's advocate yourself first. Yeah. Yeah,
because honestly, that's how you make better arguments. You know, I before we wrap it up, I'm going to tell a really, really fast story here. Punk icon Henry Rollins. I had the privilege of listening to him speak at Emerson College when I was a senior there. Oh, and cool. It was my last semester at school right before I graduated, and Henry came in and was he's like a modern day Mark Twain, you know, if Mark Twain was an angry punk. He got in and just was like, one of the big things he said was no, listen to your enemy, know what they say, don't just be like, fuck you, I don't want to deal with you, I don't agree with you. You know, like, don't just go right to punch them in the face. Know your enemy and know their arguments and understand them, because to know them is to also know yourself. But more importantly, you know, you overcome other ideas by having better answers, you know. And in order to do that, you actually have to understand what it is that's being said. You know, you can't just come in and be like, my uncritical thought here, my uncritical solution to everything that really isn't a solution to anything is the only solution. No, you have to, you actually have to, like, listen to what other people say and understand their points of view and everything. And in doing so, that's where you find common ground, or that's where you also find the way to overcome ideologies, you know, that are incompatible, because nature is going to will out one way or the other. So, you know your enemy.
Well, you got to know yourself to know your enemy. Like, first and
absolutely.
Foremost. Yeah. Like, I mean, it's just a great idea. Like what Carrie just said, you couldn't have said that any better. Like, it is, that is understanding what you understand. Yeah. If you think you understand something some way, you have to devil's advocate almost to actually understand what your understanding of it is. Yeah. And so on and so forth. Yeah.
Awesome. Harris, thank you very much for stimulating morning. Chat, thank you guys for coming in. This is better than coffee today. Thank you for bearing with me. Thank you for allowing me to jump on here and just start talking a mess. Next week, or actually I think I know we skipped last week, and that's why we're off schedule today. But if we want to come back next Friday, my buddy Paul, I'm going to see if he could join us, because he's at Wasteland weekend right now. He's there.
Hell yes.
So I want to have him. Yeah. So we're gonna go from talking about the global economy, individuality, and all this other stuff, all this heavy shit, to talking about, hey, what was it like at the orgy tent at the post-apocalyptic LARP over the weekend?
Full Burning Man.
Yeah. So yeah, it's gonna be a good time. So I hope you'll join us again next week for the next episode of the Radical Wasteland podcast. I've been Greg the Ghoul. Harris has been Harris. You've been you. Thank you so much. Keep your Nuka-Cola close and your 10 millimeter closer. We'll see you guys in a week.
Adios, y'all. Check out Sunday. We have our Sci-Fi Sundays. And
Sci-Fi Sundays. I think I'm going to actually wake up and be there for that. I'm excited this time.
Is this going to be your first Sci-Fi Sunday, or did we use
It'll be my first Sci-Fi. Well, no. The debate was a Wednesday.
Oh, so this is actually
when I debated Jamie about the strikes, that was a Wednesday. Yeah, that wasn't even a Sci-Fi Sunday. So
hell yeah.
This will be a good time. Yeah. And by the way, I had to laugh, because that fucking episode where I debated Jamie about the strikes, I was like, where he's like, everybody needs to shut the fuck up and get back to work. I was like, wait, you're the pro message? Like what? So I was also like, wow, this is gonna be fucking easy. So don't tell him I said that. But thank you guys. We'll see you. We'll see you all again real soon.
See you Sunday. Check out, we have a Kurtzman video from yesterday, and we got a lot of stuff, so check it out.
Yeah.
Love y'all.
Take care.
Adios.